This is Dan, the perfect productivity specimen. Notice the shirt, the collar. It is bland. That's because Dan wastes no energy other than his work. That's how you can tell he's a pro. Today is just like all the other days. Focused, ready to attack. The espresso. All the grades need routine. Now notice the perfect placement of the cup on the coaster. A place for everything, and for everything, a place. Routine. Today, he's writing a script for his upcoming video. He knows it's going to be legendary. Our planet needs it to be legendary. Dan has been on focus mode for a few hours. Let's see what he's up to. Dan, what? Why don't you show us what you are working on today? Let's turn the camera around. Research? Browsing social media, playing games, watching Netflix. Just 3 examples of things you never procrastinate on. You don't need to rely on motivation or willpower to say, watch The Office.
He insulted us and he abandoned us.
You just do. So it's easy to assume that we only procrastinate on things that aren't fun, like cleaning your room. But when I was in college, cleaning seemed like a wonderful thing during exam season. Like seriously, the best thing ever. College then, be ready to condo the entire apartment instead of studying algebra. It wasn't because cleaning was suddenly fun. You wouldn't see a broom in my hand until the next exam season. But give me the choice of studying or cleaning and I'll be Chuck Norris with a broom. A few minutes of hard work and boom, one task completed. Check and check. I felt productive. I felt progress. And this is the feeling that we often overlook. Of course, fun is better than boring, but that's not the only thing that's driving you. In his TED Talk, Inside the Mind of a Procrastinator, Tim Urban from Wait But Why explains that inside each one of our brains lives an instant gratification monkey. It's the part of your brain that loves scrolling social media, watching Netflix, or leveling up a Charizard. It's also the one luring you to the fridge to get a piece of chocolate in the middle of the night. So every time that you need to make a decision, you have to deal with the instant gratification monkey that lives in your brain. Nothing gets done if it doesn't want to. So it might seem that the monkey is only willing to do fun things, but that's not true. The monkey also loves to hand in reports, complete the thesis for your masters, and finish YouTube videos. You see, to him, they are the same. In fact, difficult tasks stimulate the monkey more than playing video games. It doesn't want to waste time on fun activities. It just wants to feel progress. To understand this, let's get sciencey for a moment. This is an impressionist drawing of the brain. Here is the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that makes you, well, smart. You can count on it to save part of your income for your retirement or to know how much 24 times 13 is. It's 312, by the way. Then there's the limbic system, the unconscious zone of your brain where your pleasure center lives. Instant gratification monkey is renting this space for life. And what you need to know is that these two systems are constantly fighting each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, on this corner, with 2,000 years of evolution, the guy who puts us on the moon, but also got us Twitter. Clap your hands for prefrontal the vortex cortex. And on this corner, he comes all the way from the apes, the guy who's responsible for our survival, so we could go to the moon. And also, to Twitter, your applause for Limbic Apocalyptic! Yeah. So, ready, fight! The vortex opens with studying for finals. Strong opening, very strong opening. Ooh, but Limbic Apocalyptic replies with sunset drinks at home. And this one, I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen, is going out to the Apocalyptic. Okay, round 2, here's the vortex with a strong combo of hit workout and a healthy dinner. I don't know how the Apocalyptic is going to get out of this one. Ooh, but he counters with a single frozen pizza. Looks to me like another round 2 Limbic Apocalyptic. Final round, the vortex gives it all with a savings plan to buy a house in 5 years. I gotta say, very strong move. Everyone needs a roof. But ooh, what's this? The Apocalyptic shows colored lights that you can change using just your phone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a knockout.
So here's the thing. Despite being the rational thing to do, no amount of convincing is going to make the instant gratification monkey if you don't reward it. And it needs to be constantly rewarded with dopamine. It craves this feel-good hormone like a real monkey craves bananas. So every time you feel a sense of accomplishment, a sense of progress, you get a dopamine hit and the monkey gets fed. But here's the kicker. Starve the monkey and he's going to grab the first thing that gives him that quick dopamine hit. And in that moment, boom, procrastination happens. You see, at the very core, it's a simple equation. If what you need to do is not rewarding enough right now, you procrastinate. You want your efforts to be rewarded now, not 10 years down the line. So given a choice, you'll settle for a smaller present reward than to wait for a large future reward. And this is what behavioral scientists call present bias. But the problem is that anything worth achieving is going to take a very long time. It's going to take a few months, maybe years, to see any kind of reward. And so to beat procrastination, you need to rebalance this cost-benefit analysis. You can do so in 2 ways. First, you can make the benefits of action feel bigger. Katie Milkman, a researcher at the Wharton School of Business, stumbled on an ingenious way to provide short-term benefits to unattractive tasks. Milkman loved to listen to addictive fiction novels, like The Hunger Games. At the same time, she was having trouble making it to the gym on a regular basis. Her solution? She decided to only allow herself to listen to the audiobooks when she was exercising. The result? Milkman began hitting the gym 5 days a week. And this strategy proved to be so effective, she even gave it a name. She called it temptation building. Her definition is the following: bundling behaviors you are tempted to do with behaviors you should do but often neglect. Simple, right? But why does it work? Because you're not neglecting the monkey in your brain. He's looking for dopamine and you're giving it to him. And as a result, what was once an unattractive task suddenly becomes a desirable one. So here's how to figure your own temptation building stack. First, grab a pen and a piece of paper. Then, name the left column once. Now, list down the pleasures you enjoy and the temptations that you want to do. Step 3. Name the right column shoulds, and list down the tasks and behaviors you should be doing but often procrastinate on. Take a few minutes and write as much as you can in both columns. And now for the magic. Step 4. Browse your list and see if you can link one of your instantly gratifying want behaviors with something you should be doing. Draw an arrow to link them together. So a few years I tore my right knee ACL playing soccer. I had to have surgery, and rehab after that was basically 45 minutes on a bike followed by 15 minutes of ice. Do that as many times as you can per day for 6 months. This wasn't something I wasn't looking forward to. I never had any intention to compete in the Tour de France. And so I found a hack. I put a bicycle here in my room, turned it to the TV, put a soccer game, and got cycling. And 45 minutes later, at halftime, the players got instructions from their coach, and I got ice on my knee ready for the second half. And it was nice. It was actually kind of nice. It felt like I was on the pitch running alongside the players. So what I'm trying to say is you can use temptation building to beat procrastination and also repair your knee. But what about getting feedback on your long-term behaviors? The truth is, for some types of tasks, you'll need to rely on your discipline to beat procrastination on a daily basis. Because that's the difference between a professional and an amateur. The pro shows up and delivers every single day, no matter what. So let's look at Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry is one of the most successful comedians, writers, and actors ever. One thing that stands out from Jerry's career is his consistency in producing quality work. Brad Isaac, a young comedian just starting out, once asked Jerry Seinfeld for his advice on how to become a better comic. And you want to know what his answer was? He said to create better jokes, to create lots of jokes, to write every single day. But then he developed a single system to make sure that he was writing jokes every single day. Get a big wall calendar, Jerry said, that has a whole year on one page and hang it on a prominent wall. Get a big red magic marker. For each day that you do your task of writing, put a big red X over that day. And after a few days, you'll have a chain. Just keep at it, and the chain will grow longer every day. You'll like seeing that chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job is to not break the chain. Writing a funny punchline is no joke. And writing a good one every day is even harder. But with the calendar, the reward when you do it is much bigger than completing a single joke. You are making sure a big chain does not die today. And turns out that extra bit of context increases the pleasure you get when you eventually complete the task, making your instant gratification monkey happy. All right, so at this point, I gotta come clean. That story about Jerry Seinfeld, not true. It's a myth. Jerry himself actually admitted it was a lie in a Reddit AMA a few years ago. But I didn't know that when I discovered it a few years ago. I gave it a go when I started writing for my blog. My goal was to write just 500 words per day. It didn't matter if I wasn't motivated. All it mattered was getting 500 words on the screen. And every time I was struggling and did not feel like writing anything, I just thought about Tuesday Dan. I could not let Tuesday Dan down. He worked so hard to write that day. He was battling allergies and still made it. What I always thought was, is this gonna be the day that I'm gonna break my chain? Because you see, it was more on the line than just writing 500 words. It was my pride. That was what was on the line. I didn't want to let Tuesday Dan down. Making that cross and seeing a slightly bigger chain makes the instant gratification monkey so happy that it gives you extra leg room for boring tasks. And if for some reason you miss a day, don't worry, happens to the best of us. Just make sure you pick up the next day where you left off. But don't ever miss twice in a row, or your monkey brain will know your commitment is not serious and he can negotiate 3 hours of Netflix whenever he wants. So yeah, I followed that method and I made it to 482 days. Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. I got sick. And that was a couple days, and then I didn't write again. To this day, I think I could have pushed it to 500. That's probably the biggest failure in my life. Little by little, I made progress. Writing every day became part of my routine, part of who I was. Because of the don't break the chain technique, I changed from a guy who writes to a writer. And my blog, which has been read by millions of people over the last few years, was born. A second way to rebalance the cost-benefit analysis is by making the cost of action feel smaller. Sometimes we avoid tasks because we are intimidated by the sheer magnitude of effort necessary. I'm talking about things that are going to take a long time to complete. Yeah, you can learn how to code in your to-do list, but you know you're not going to complete that in an average afternoon. And so you procrastinate. One trick that works for me here is to break a big, ambitious project into very small and manageable steps. To think of it as sort of a project with a series of tasks all linked together to the end goal. In other words, turning a daunting item into a series of small, clear, actionable tasks. Deconstructing a long-term goal into an action you can do right now. You limit the investment you're asking for, making tasks small enough that you can't help but score a victory. Because here's the reality. Any remarkable achievement is a matter of completing a small series of unremarkable tasks. Think of it this way. Nobody builds a house. To build a house, you need to methodically lay one brick after the other, day after day, without giving up, until a house is built. And so each brick is a unit of progress. And in the same way, each task gets you closer to your goal of learning how to code. So instead of writing "learn how to code" in your to-do list, instead you might write something like, email Josh, your friend who's a programmer, to ask advice on learning how to code. And when you achieve that small goal, you feel more motivated to take the next small step. Brick by brick, that's how you build a house. Small tasks aren't scary, but you do have to make time to actually do them. And so the final step is to block time in your calendar to actually do your small task. You can't start learning to code this month, but you can email Josh asking for help tomorrow at 5 p.m. By using smaller units of progress, you shorten the feedback loop and reward your instant gratification monkey more frequently. And you also want to make life easy for future you to get started. Because when there's a lot of friction to get started, present you is going to procrastinate. Imagine walking into the kitchen. You see lots of dishes in the sink from last night. Now imagine everything is clean. In which scenario do you think it's more likely you'll be cooking? What about going to your desk to start working in the morning and finding a pile of stuff that you need to clean? You're going to spend precious productive minutes cleaning up everything before you get to the actual work. To beat procrastination and help future you get started, remove friction from your environment. And the best time to do it is immediately after completing a task. And this is the idea behind clearing to neutral. It's simple, but very effective. Whenever you finish a task, move everything to its neutral position. Identify your rituals, the tasks you do every day, and think of ways to make it easy for future you to get started. This could mean emptying the physical trash when it's full, the digital trash just before lunch, washing the dishes or putting them in the dishwasher after a meal, closing all 543 tabs open when you finish a task, or simply cleaning your desk at the end of the day. These things only take a couple of seconds, but are going to save you a lot of headache when you actually need to get started. Oh, and you're also going to become more organized in general. So that's 2 for 1, I guess. Win! As procrastinators, we spend hours, if not days, avoiding work. And afterwards, an incredible sense of guilt creeps in, and you start to worry that you won't have time to do everything you need to do. So all procrastinations know this loop. You don't feel in the mood to work, so you don't work. You open up your phone and give yourself 15 minutes of distraction. Eventually, you notice how much time has passed, and the anxiety of not doing anything starts to get to you. And so you decide, yep, it's time to start working. But now something is different. You can't focus. You feel like you are wasting your time. You are not being productive enough. Self-doubt starts to creep in, and you just start telling yourself, I just can't do it right now. Which brings you to right where you started. The truth is this: the most difficult part of leaving the procrastination doom loop is deciding to work. Once you are set on working and you start, you don't need any extra motivation to do the job, and you encounter the most resistance at the beginning of a task. However, that doesn't mean it will always be like that. And so by following the simple steps in this video, you'll be able to get started consistently and beat procrastination once and for all. Because this is Newton's first law: an object in motion remains in motion. Your job, first and foremost, is to get moving. And as soon as you move, everything else becomes easier. And you might even find you like work because you're feeling progress. All our lives, we've been told that we need motivation in order to act. But this is just another myth. Action is what leads to motivation. Action feeds motivation and not the other way around. You are not motivated because you are not creating something of value. As strange as it seems, you feel the most motivated after you complete a great work session on your most important project. And as you do more work consistently, you build up momentum, which makes you less likely to deviate and procrastinate. So go ahead and start. Because you see, the secret to getting ahead is getting started. I didn't say that. Mark Twain said that. I just wanted to sound smarter.